Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Got anybody online at all? No, it's just us. Okay. Just us. Were there any questions on the minutes from November 9th or amendments or changes? They're nice and short, like I like them. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Guess I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
We don't even have a quorum here today, do we?
Well, we need to have,
Well, there's three of you.
Jess is a member, Doug's a member, I'm a member.
Okay.
Dave's not here. Don't know, maybe he's on his way, but I think we're good.
Good.
So, okay. I don't suppose there's a privilege of the floor online. Anybody in the room want to speak during privilege of the floor, or just speak up anytime you want to? So, okay. So that moves us right into the review of the finance-related resolutions for the week, or for the month. That feels like for the week lately. Let's see. Okay, so going through the agendas, in the correspondence, I just wanted to make a note. I did notice that there was a section in there talking about the zero value assessed properties. Do we have any kind of an update on that? You know, how that happened, how we're going to make the school district whole, and you know what? I mean, I know they're going to be getting double charged next year because they weren't charged this year, but there's some pretty significant properties, you know, over $3 million, some of them. So
yeah, one or two, right? I mean, there's eight, I think. A couple of them are essentially very, very low values.
well, it's 6.286 million for the properties that were assessed at zero combined.
But
yeah,
like two of them are more than two, and then a lot of them are a lot less, like very, very less. So essentially, the county has updated their records. So the town assessor has updated records here, and the county has updated their records. And there's a thing that happens with the Ontario Treasurer's Office, and there's a specific form, from what I understand from talking with him, that gets filed and filled out, and that's all been done. And then in terms of, yes, people will get notified. I believe they've gotten notified that they're going to essentially be taxed.
They had the letters went out.
And then the final tax roll of 7/1/24 will have the correct, essentially, assessed values on it. In terms of what happens, so keep in mind we hired the county to do all of the commercial assessments, as well as we hired the county to do the reval for everything other than predominantly the waterfront parcels, the RLD, but it's all done by neighborhood classification, and that's what gets very difficult. Neighborhood classifications are different than zoning classifications. So it's particular styles of homes, pairs of homes, and those types of things. And from what I've been told is that the county was uploading stuff into real property system. It had nothing to do with the town of Canandaigua, and it was overwriting each other on the files.
Okay.
So that's as best as I know as to what happened with those particular parcels. And yes, it has to get corrected.
Is there a way that we can, you know, before the final roll is done, is there a way that we can have some sort of a review period where we just confirm any properties? I mean, we could probably pretty easily search any properties that are assessed at zero and be like, you know, why is all of this entire apartment complex assessed at zero? You know, I was just kind of surprised that we missed like the entire Conifer Drive apartment complex. So, but
well, I think that, you know, there's any number of things that could have, should have, would have, right? I mean, we could follow that anytime. In terms of the valuations in that particular case, I don't even know that the records that the assessor would have seen would have shown that, because the county system was overwriting it. So
So there's not like a little,
there's
like
a
a
sheet.
final check before the final roll? Is
The
sheet?
county does that,
The
the
county
assessor
does
does it, and then has a final sheet of the 5,000 whatever parcels. But, I mean, it's also a very tight cramped time. I mean,
Mhm.
normally it's not to that extent, right? There's any number of things that always after a
Goof,
revow
yeah.
work themselves out. People come in and say, I didn't get my notice, or I got my notice,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I was out of town, and so I need you to fix this for next year. and all
Well, and
those types of
yeah, I
things,
expect that, and
Yeah.
I was, when I saw that there'd be zero valuations, I was going through and assuming it would be, oh, there's a 10,000 one here, and whatever, somebody's
Yeah.
vacant lot.
Some of
I was
them-
just surprised because there are 3 properties in here over $1 million, and I mean, and that really can affect, budgets for various reasons when it's 6.2 million overall. So, and as far as the school district goes, it sounded like there's about $50,000 that they were missing in funds because of this. How is that?
Nobody's made me aware of that.
That's what the letter says in here that was attached. It says $50,000 missing in funds for the school district. So that's why I was bringing it up in
But
this
we
context.
don't collect school taxes. That's
No,
not
I
one
know,
of
but
those.
it's because of this error, so I mean, and that,
But we still wouldn't collect it. That's up to the school district. They're
Yeah.
the collector for that.
okay, so I'm just wondering how we can assist with that, I guess, but, all right. Just wanted to bring it up and see what's going on, so. All right, so back to the general agenda then. You guys want to go to the resolutions part. The first one is just the monthly financial reports. I did have a couple of questions in there, like I always do, sorry. Yeah, let me get to the right pages here. So the first question I had was, we all know why the purchase of land, the right of way is off, by 1,000% or whatever. I didn't see an adjustment, I don't think, in the resos about that, to get that back to a non-negative number, the purchase of land right away thing.
We did pass a resolution,
Okay,
well, like 2
a
months
couple
ago
months
now,
ago, so is
to,
that,
it's being rectified now.
Okay.
Because we had to wait out the,
oh, that's right, we had to wait the
Permissive
permissive
referendum.
referendum time, so, yes, okay, perfect, thank you. All right, and then, yeah. There were a couple things that I was wondering, are people aware that they're still at 100% of their budget? For example, the conservation program contractual and the conservation ag committee contractual haven't spent any monies yet. Is anybody, reached out to them to say there's a, $26,000 floating around that they need to do
Yes,
something with?
Some of that was related, like, for instance, one of those was related, I just don't have the exact numbers in front of me. One of those was related to a grant, so the expenditure isn't really a real expenditure because they
Okay.
didn't have the grant revenue that matches it and offsets it.
Okay, great.
One of them was an initiative that the Ag Committee was gonna do that I think they're holding off on. So Sarah is the primary
Okay.
contact that's working with the Ag Committee and the conservation teams on that. I think there is some stuff that they've also ordered. I don't know if you've seen any invoices lately for that. But I think the majority of that, if you look at it, there's an offsetting revenue related to a grant that they didn't
Okay.
get.
Perfect. I don't know if there's a similar answer with the recreation contractual one too, because there's almost 5,000 in there that we didn't spend any of. Which I know we do that recreation program, so I'm surprised.
That's
we
under a
haven't-
different account, so,
Okay,
sorry for what you're.
No, it's
talking
great.
about with the recreation
Which one
program.
was it? Ag one?
it's on the second page there, AA 100, 720, 7020, 400. It's about maybe 7 or 8 lines down from the top.
So,
It's-
it was budgeted at 4,800.
48,
Nothing
yeah.
has been spent. So the question is, what was budgeted?
I just want to make sure if we're putting it in there that we're spending, that we're spending it off in the right spot. And it's November.
I almost wonder if that had to do with like the recreation director contractual, which we don't
There's a couple
have.
other ones in there that had the rec director's right above it.
Right.
That
At the
may
$1.
have been, and I'll
Yeah,
just pull it up here.
Common line that.
Well, I think at the time we didn't have the, remember when the 23 budget was adopted,
Mhm.
we had not yet finalized the agreement with
The Y,
for
yep.
what we
Mhm.
were doing. And
I
I
thought-
believe we had even budgeted one for recreation director with expenses. I'm just getting logged in.
It's showing recreation director is just $1 last year, so, this is recreation contractual. I think this might have been like bus trips or that sort, you know what I mean?
It's,
Like,
it says it's training for rec director conferences, computer and
Okay.
supplies. So these were,
Perfect.
this is a contractual line for,
So
a
not
position
bringing in the
that's not
rec
filled.
director, we didn't, okay, all right, cool, so that makes sense. Just making sure if we have the rec money, that we spend the rec money, you know what I mean? So, okay, great. The other ones, there were some negatives in highway, which I think we're getting fixed this month. Oh, and then for the reserve fund pages there, and this is, it's page 7 of 18 in the agenda. Why are these all zero? Is there something funky happening here, or what am I missing?
The budget, right? But you see, if you see the activity, you see the.
Yeah,
So that's the interest activity, right, the period activity. And then these are these specific account lines, right? Because these reserve funds are all over in like New York class.
oh, that's why they showed a zero, okay.
So then you
Thank
have
you.
to look at that or run a specific report on those reserve funds so you can see.
I feel like they weren't usually all zero in the agenda, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure that was, I figured it was something like that since it was every single one of them. I'm like, there's something funky. I think that might be, hang on. Oh,
Yeah, so Adeline, in that report, 18 of 18, and then the very
Yeah,
next
that's where I was
page,
getting
1
to
of 1
next.
is the fund balance report. So then I'm
Yeah.
looking at the fund balance report, right? Then you can see the
Yeah.
balance for the reserve funds.
that's, I was just wondering why I was showing zero on the earlier one, that's all. So, yeah, I saw that as well, so.
the
So-
intricacies of income.
Yes, so back to 18 of 18, by the way. And again, I'm sure there is a reason for this. Why is Kennedy consolidated in the negative there?
Because we have, is that because we haven't appropriated fund balance to make it?
Yeah, because we haven't, we don't appropriate the unassigned fund balance for the balancing the budget until the end of the year, so we know
Okay.
exactly how much we need. So the same, it doesn't usually happen in the general fund, but it could. It does usually happen in the
Okay.
highway fund. And then the same for each of the special districts. So when we budget, we'll take, like, for instance, I don't know what the exact number was for last year for Canandaigua Consolidated, but let's say it's $200,000 to make it balance from fund balance. And so we would appropriate
Yeah, yeah.
that, right? But we wouldn't actually do that adjustment
Until
until
the year end.
we're at the
Where you
year
know where
end,
it's gonna be.
so that we
Yeah.
know the exact number,
Okay,
and then it's,
perfect,
that's more than likely what's going on there.
awesome. That all makes perfect sense, thank you. Okay, so then back to the agenda. Anybody else have any other questions on the monthly financial reports?
No.
Okay, any questions on the budget transfers? Dog control services, anybody have any questions? Heather's keeping the dogs under control in the town, Canandaigua. The cancellation of outstanding checks and town clerk, most of which were dog related. Any questions on that? Okay, then the Reso 268 authorizing CNB to act as agent. Do they do this every year? That's really great that they don't charge for that service. That's pretty awesome, so any questions on that, Reso? Uh, 269, the highway fund transfer. Any questions? Okay. 270, personnel benefits accounts. Can you just explain this a little bit, Lindsay, would you mind to just?
Oh, of course. So when we create the budget for 2023, that was done obviously in 2022. Since 2022, I would say through May, we've had a lot of personnel changes. So different insurance elections, opting out or opting in, HSA money. So this is just to adjust the funds appropriately for the end of the year. So that's why there was a lot of change going on because of personnel election changes with our new staff.
So something happened, this resolution is gonna have to be replaced. There's a version of this, because you can't move general fund money to Canandaigua Consolidated, and we don't normally move it from general fund to highway either, so.
Are you talking
Jess
about
did a new-
269 or 270?
270.
270.
Yeah, so that resolution will have to be, you'll have to have a new one on Monday, because there's gonna be too many changes there for that to make sense.
So the issue is what again? It's
So you cannot move
General
general
fund
fund
into highway.
contingency money
Yeah.
over to Canandaigua Consolidated, that would be the
Mhm.
gifting of municipal
yep.
resources. And so, and then we don't normally move it from general to highway, we can, but we don't normally. And so that resolution has to be fixed so that that's not.
So where do you plan on grabbing it from then?
Within the district, she's
Okay.
got Jess had already done an updated version of that
Oh, great.
resolution.
It just must have, I don't know,
Can
the
you-
agenda must have been put together prior to the correction.
Okay.
Can you email that out? And maybe we can just call it 270A so that everybody knows that it's the correct version.
All right, awesome.
But it still does the same thing that Lindsay explained, it's
Mhm.
just
Yep,
coming
yep,
from
where it's
different
coming
account
from.
lines.
Yep. Any other questions on 270? Or 270A, as the case may be? All right, 271, the unpaid water sewer bills for re-levy to the town and county tax bills. Any questions on those?
Yeah. What exactly are we saying here, that their residents have not paid their bills?
That's correct.
And consequently, we are forwarding the money to Canandaigua Farmington and Canandaigua Water Department to pay those bills for the benefit of the residents?
No. We are including this on their taxes with penalty to be paid. The county will make us whole.
Yep.
They're gonna pay, the county's gonna pay us whatever that total amount is.
Yep.
And then from there, it'll go on the taxes for those residents to pay not only their taxes, but their past due
Water bills.
water bills or sewer bills.
Got it.
Some people do it on purpose, so they can claim it as a tax.
All
as well, so.
Thank you.
If John or the board wants to look at the fee schedule for next year, you might want to consider increasing the penalty to maybe discourage.
Yeah, that from happening in the first place, right?
Correct.
Because it does extra hoops that staff has to jump through in tracking it and even crediting back the appropriate special districts and everything. And so, you know, some municipalities don't do that. Some municipalities, like Farmington, will go shut off the water.
Right.
And they don't do that because of this tracking thing. But so the town board might want to think about increasing the penalty, like Jim said.
What's the current penalty?
2%. I think Farmington's 20.
20%,
Yeah, it's huge. It's,
once you get the water turned off.
yeah, you pay for that also, to turn it up and turn it on,
Mhm.
so.
Any other questions on that?
I'm set.
Okay, 272, authorizing budget transfer within the consolidated water district. Any comments, concerns, or questions? Okay. The land surveying, 273.
Well, it's not really land surveying. What it is with our Bridge New York grant, there were 3 consulting firms that submitted their RFP for us to consider. We did the scoring and have chosen Robbie. Robbie is an approved consulting engineering firm through the state of New York DOT program that is allowed to manage the Bridge New York program. We just can't go and use MRB or whoever else you have to use. Those pre-approved, there's 9 of them, pre-approved engineering firms, consulting firms throughout the project. Just another layer of cost.
9 special pre-approved firms, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It is, it's great.
How come there isn't a dollar amount attached?
That's a good question, John. Right now, it's part of the grant. I'll email it to you. So on the grant, it's spelled out how much,
Each person?
what
Each party
yeah.
can get?
There's X amount, I'll say a percentage of the contract that goes towards the cost. So I'll forward it to you. It might be an attachment. I can't remember, folks. It's all right. I'll get it
It's
to
in
you
a,
guys.
I'll see what
You want me to check
attachment
the
7
attachment?
has. Hang on.
It might be on the attachment.
It's a very snazzy looking, full color attachment.
They
I
all
was
were.
like, wow, this is super snazzy.
So you
It's got
included all of them in
pictures
here?
in it and everything. It's got a big old color picture of Greg Coltrane as well.
Yep.
Wow. Look at this.
Don't worry about it. I'll get to you, folks, okay? I'll email just that one to you, John. And don't worry, I'll take care of that today. Be easy.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on that one? Okay, the next one is the water services agreement. I'm guessing we might want to chat about that a little bit. Goes to 2063. That was a kind of scary number to see on there. I'm like, oh my God. This is so, any questions on the water services agreement, water sales agreement? Any highlights that we need to know that we haven't already discussed? Everybody
Now,
have?
the only thing I would say is that Farmington's requested to meet again with the purveyors who purchased, just to get a idea of future cost, so that everybody knows what they're planning on after the GRD report is completed.
That was the email we all received yesterday, right?
Okay, yeah,
You haven't seen any of that report?
I have not,
Chairman?
no.
Who's it, who did it for, what's the name of the company?
GRD, I'm not familiar with, so, we'll spend the low bid. That's just how they work it. It's always low bid, the city, so.
Do you want to, in Monday's meeting, maybe just go over a couple of the highlights of that? When we get to
If I know
discuss
anything
those?
about it.
No, I just mean about the water services agreement in general, not, so, anything, like, maybe we could just let the public know if there were any significant changes, so, which there are, just so that they're aware without reading through the whole thing, so,
Okay, oh, sure.
if you don't mind. think
I don't-
it'd be-
I don't mind, just I kind of like not sure how to give a good answer for the future when none of us know at the moment.
Well, yeah,
That's
So-
the answer.
Um,
The only thing we're aware of is that capital contribution every year is
yeah,
So that is one thing
being
to
rolled
discuss.
into the cost of water, so
exactly.
Okay,
cost per gallon is gonna go up. but
right. Correct.
I just think as many times as we can inform people about that, the better, and we
Okay.
can relate it back to, that was discussed at the
Board meeting.
November board meeting, and, might be something that we put even in the newsletter.
Well, typically on our fourth quarter water billing, we put something in the bill explaining the new rate.
Yeah. which
Okay,
is-
we do that every year.
Yeah, that's always great. Those are great, because they're going right to everybody, and
Well, they don't read them, but we put it in there, so.
I think nobody reads anything, but I think
No.
that's like the most likely way to actually inform people what's going
Yeah.
on. Like, next time we do a reval, we should put out whole tons of information in that one, because everybody reads that
That only
one.
goes to half of the town.
You what?
That only goes to half of the
Oh,
town.
yeah, no, I know.
So it's you catch the part of the town
The
south of 5
consolidated
and
part.
20.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it'd be
Yes.
nice to have something or other in the newsletter
Well,
somewhere about
Yeah,
it.
newsletter on our bill, it's only, I think we do like 3-ish sentences, maybe
Yeah.
4, it's not huge.
Yeah.
But it does put the information out to the water user.
It's just a relatively decent change, so it's, I think it's great to bring it up whenever we can.
I don't know if Canandaigua Farmington is doing that or not.
Don't know either, because their water supervisor left, so I'm not sure who's running the show over there.
So
That's good.
Just recently,
Went for a better paying job.
where have I heard that before?
Yeah, I've told you a few times. That's why we can't find anybody lately, so.
Okay. Are we good on that one for now?
Yep.
All right. The next one was 276, the MRB professional services for the fire hall roof replacement. Can you just confirm what the AA 100, 1440, 400 line is?
That should be the engineering line, I believe.
Is that, yeah, I just wanted
That
to
we have, and
It is,
I,
yeah.
okay.
I believe I put us at or just over Jess. I can't remember when I punched that in, what it did to that account. I usually put it over, so.
Stop touching
Yeah,
my
but it's
stuff.
not gonna all hit in 23.
No.
So
Yeah.
I think you'll be okay. I looked at it too
Okay.
when I was going through the resolutions, because some of it will hit in 23 and the rest will hit in 24.
Okay.
You probably have to do a budget adjustment in 24.
Okay.
All right. So we'll create a capital project out of this to roll over?
No,
No,
I
we'll
did
just-
not for that, because
Okay.
it's so, you just do a budget adjustment.
All right.
And Jess says, hey, we're out of money because of that fire station roof. that you
That's usually what I put in
remember."
there.
Yeah, there's, will be a
Add it to your list, Jess.
Mhm.
I think it went over some. not- 1,300 or 1,000?
13,000
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, but that's all against the 23 budget.
It
against
is.
the 23.
Right.
And, we do actually have other engineering bills that come in, so, but we'll see.
Well, again, at the end of the year, you'll have unappropriated fund balance in some line. We'll just make a hole and call it zero.
Yeah, but just speaking of this, a good time to bring this up, right? So Jess, and we talked about this in the staff meeting yesterday, so Jess is running an open PO report, and
Mhm.
she'll go around and meet with department heads and stuff. And so then they'll close out some of these POs, and so then some of the money will revert back, right? Because then it'll have to be appropriated against the 24 budget, so anyway, so there's some adjustments that will get made.
I'm sorry, I'm working on my list for you today.
That's okay. It's a little early still.
Well, early's better than late for Jim.
Especially when the snow starts flying, right? So. Okay, cool. Any other questions on 275? Okay, 276, this is the TAP grant application. Any questions on that one? Okay. 277, the HVAC agreement with the highway facility. Any questions? I think we had a long discussion with them in DPW on that, so. Okay. I don't think anybody wants to talk about the sureties. Any questions on the sidewalk plan? Okay. Then we got some resignations and some movement happening in the motor equipment operators, in and out. Any questions on any of those? I see Jeff's retiring.
Jeff has retired. He's been gone since
November,
November 1st. Yeah,
Oh,
so he's very excited.
yes, he is.
where is he going?
As long as it's not here.
Just-
He's still gonna plow if you need him though in the winter.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm hoping to get him back to mow roadsides is what I'm hoping it is, so.
Mowing's more fun than plowing.
Well, he does
3 a.m.,
does
I
an
think,
outstanding
so.
job for our town, and
No.
it's gonna be sorely missed when find someone to do what he did.
Yeah. I think that brings us down to 288, the microfiche conversion. That's about 24,000. Any questions on that?
Yeah, what is it? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Heather, you want to address that?
Which one is it?
It's 288, it's the converting
Microphone.
the microfilm
Microfilm. Oh,
into Laserfiche.
so, we have, microfilm is film strips of a lot of the property files. There's other various things too, and that was just a way of record keeping previous to Laserfiche, which is our online system. We only have a reader here, so you can look at them, but you can't do anything digitally with them. So we got this grant so that we can convert it, because anytime someone FOIL requests or needs copies of these property files or whatever various documents, we have to go to the county archives to get them onto a flash drive, to then come back here, to then email them, or then request prints. So it's just a way to save time, to utilize that, to get that, and it's I think it will be a more efficient way of keeping these records and.
So two follow-up questions.
Mhm.
You said this was a grant, so was this funded outside of our
Yeah, I
budget?
believe Jean got a grant for it.
Okay, and another follow-up question is this a one-time fee? One-time purchase? Or is
Yeah.
there a maintenance fee associated with it also?
No, this is just, they're just gonna take the microfilm and transfer it to a PDF, and then it's gonna come to us so that
Okay.
we can put it into Laserfiche.
Okay,
And we need to keep doing this with more and more things as well, right? This is not covering like everything we need to do.
Right, I mean, there's obviously paper records and things like that in the bulk that will, but that's eventually gonna be hopefully scanned and,
Yep.
not necessarily something that needs to be outsourced, but,
Yeah.
time efficiency,
Time
maybe.
outsourced, yeah, Okay. You good, Jen? Okay. And then I think that we go out of surety. And then I don't know if we wanted to chat at all about the hiring search committee for the town manager position, or just leave that for Monday. But that's the last one on there. And then I think we're hunky-dory. Any questions on that one?
no.
All right. So I'm good. I don't know if anybody else had anything else for the good of the order that we wanted to talk about after a 35-minute meeting.
I don't think I see. There was. I don't want to make everyone dizzy by reading this, but
No,
there was, I had put in a resolution to clarify some things regarding
The MRB.
the MRB renovation, and the account line needed to be updated, but
I was looking at that too.
Which
It was
reso was that in?
Is it in
Well,
there?
252, but it's not here on this list. I don't know what's going on. Because I think we were bringing resolution 252 back just for clarification purposes, and then there was
is that the one where we had the Complete Streets Highway, that one? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it was when we were doing that discussion, there was some confusion,
North
because one
Road.
resolution got skipped, and then we went back to it, and then I thought we passed it, and then we passed a subsequent resolution in 260 saying we had passed 252, but the clerk's
Yeah.
office said we didn't
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
pass 252. So we were gonna put that back on just to clarify and get that approved, and then the one that Jess,
So are we gonna have to add that then?
yeah, I think so. I think there's gonna have to be some discussion on Monday night.
Okay. Did it, the other town board members in the room, you guys know what they're talking about?
Run it by me one more time.
It's the resolution for MRB. Do you know what Jess?
Yeah.
It's the resolution for MRB that it approves their proposal relative to the capital project, well, wait, no, they approved
North Road.
260.
It's about
But
North Road.
It's the proposal, it's $266,000 that authorizes us to enter into an agreement with MRB for the engineering for North Road, essentially. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the last meeting, it just got confusing. There were two resolutions, you approved resolution, for sure, approved resolution 260 last month, which actually created the capital project and funded it and everything else, and it referenced approving the proposal, but
But we hadn't approved it the first time.
Did we
Yes.
appropriate the money in the 2024 budget?
no, it's a
No,
capital
it's a
project.
capital project. It'll come out of your complete streets that,
In highway.
what funded that one? What's it called?
It was the
again?
highway improvement
No, what
and
was the money
and
we
the
got from the
complete
feds?
streets, ARPA.
ARPA, thank you. That's what I'm trying to.
So basically, we created a capital project for the ARPA funds, and we had the complete streets segment and the highway improvement segment, and what we're doing is we're taking a little bit out of each of those pieces of pie and making them into the North Road Complete Streets, because it includes both complete street projects and roadway improvements. So it's no new money, we're just
Mhm.
making a capital project for just that particular improvement, North Road.
So in summary, what I think I just heard you say was there is money in the 2024 budget to fund this, but you're taking it.
No,
No, it's
Nah,
not in the
it's
budget.
not.
It's
The
not-
capital
it's in the
projects are
capital
never
project.
in the budget, they're separate from the budget,
But there's money set aside
yes.
Yes,
to fund this,
correct.
Yes, but it's not in the budget.
not in the budget, it's in the capital projects funding.
Yep,
But that's why honestly, it's a good idea to review the capital projects from time to time and even look at the budgets and stuff, because those sit outside of the normal budget
Yeah.
that you're looking at.
Right.
And that ties in directly to the conversation we had last week about capital planning, right?
Mhm.
I concur with that.
I think that was kind of, when did we, was that like February, March, we did that last year? That seemed like a good time to be doing that
Yeah.
with
You-
the cycle as
And you
well.
probably should do it at least twice a year, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing that we had talked about is as you approach the January organizational meeting, not that there's anything else going on, really thinking about the fee schedule. You know, and if the fees need to be looked at relative to that before you get to that meeting.
yeah, because we talked about the dog licensure,
Yep.
and we've also talked now about the penalty on unpaid water.
Well, and I
Just
also
so you-
brought up at PRC if they were getting enough of the various fees to pay for the amount of work that they were doing, and I asked all the folks in the room there to really kind of look at that and see if they were covering costs, because obviously some projects they are, and some projects they woefully are not. So I asked them all to try and take a peek and see if there was a better way that we could, charge fees for the development office, so.
Well, Cloud Permit has the ability to track time.
Yeah.
So anytime anybody's working on an application, it could track the time. And then you could actually even charge back the applicant for it if the town board wanted to do that.
That's a good idea too.
Versus now it's based on a flat fee.
Yeah.
This is all residential,
Everything.
and is that based on construction cost?
The fee,
Yes?
it's based on an arbitrary amount set 30 years ago that's continued to be. a
Which is
little
why I
here and
brought it
there.
up.
Even more reason why we should probably take a look at that and modify it.
Which is why I brought it up at PRC, because I think that they're definitely, some projects, I want to build a pool in my backyard is less time than Sunset Ridge, for example, so. Okay, any other questions, finance?
Yeah, one, mentioned ARPA money. Has Chris put that petition together yet for the
28?
County Road 28?
So-
I haven't heard anything in the past couple of weeks about it.
It came to myself and Greg, we made some changes and sent it back, I haven't received an update.
So
I'll have to go on that.
I'm just curious, one, and how it's gonna be passed around. I mean, it's gonna be-
I know Jim, I can't think of Jim's last name, but is interested, Davis, and a few others on the street.
But can they do that? I mean, because there was some question about.
Nadler says they can do that,
Oh, okay.
so.
And I think most of us at the PPW had indicated, we'd like to help with that as well, town board members too,
Right.
so there's, I don't know. Who's kind of gonna run that show? Is that gonna be you, Ben, or?
Probably.
Okay.
So,
All right, well,
mhm.
what do we think, February?
No, we gotta do it now. We gotta get out now.
Yeah, okay,
So,
so before the end of the year?
yep.
Okay, good.
You still get pestered, Doug, by the feds on how we're spending that money.
Actually, it's funny you asked that. I got an email yesterday from them, and I gotta do an update on it. So right now, it says, I did it general on purpose. I think I said, public works infrastructure. I tried to use very generic words,
Yep.
Just in case.
just in case.
So we have until, what, 25 to allocate,
To spend.
No, you
and
have,
26 to spend?
it's 24 it actually has to be allocated, I
Yeah.
Oh,
believe. And then it has to be spent by the end of 26,
Yeah.
I believe it's.
Okay,
Mhm.
we got 3 years to.
But it
Yeah,
has to
goes
be
ahead of it.
firmly committed within the next essentially 12 months. That's what it's moving for.
Oh, petition will determine that.
Right.
Yeah,
If you don't use it, you lose it.
we can use it towards Ononda upgrades if we can't,
You can use it for outdoor recreation, right, specifically, and you can also use it for clean water, right? So there's any number of DWSRF or WRSRF programs you can use the ARPA money for. Keep in mind, that's really relative to COVID, and outdoor recreation actually qualifies under that. So if this one doesn't go through, because this is the second one we looked at, I would strongly recommend that you reprioritize to something we're already doing.
Yep.
That way you don't lose the money.
That's what I said. So if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, because ultimately the town board the town board is the final decision maker, but they could come back and ask for the 1.1 million back if
Mhm.
it doesn't meet the requirements.
Well, there are
So,
places where it could go, I mean, we know that.
Right.
yeah.
so there's been some, look, I was just talking with Courtney about CHIPS expenses, and she has to, it's gonna be the same idea where she has to show the, where the money was spent for CHIPS, and basically, you're kind of like choosing out invoices
Right.
that meet
Meet
those
it.
criteria. I
Mhm.
mean, really, is that something, it's almost kind of a backwards way of coming at it, but is that something that we should think about in spending that money? Like,
Well, it's not a problem yet, because right now it's dedicated to County Road 28. If they don't do it, that's when we have to figure out.
so we're doing North Road, right? We're using ARPA money for North Road.
No, for 28.
Yeah, that's why when you guys said that earlier, I'm like, wait, I'm
That's-
not sure
I thought
that's
it
a
was ARPA
qualifying
money.
project.
No.
I don't think North Road's a qualifying
Okay.
project. Because it has to be a DWSRS and SRF, clean water or outdoor recreation. Or infrastructure includes sanitary but not water.
Okay.
So there are very specific, that's that thing, I sent it out as part of an AR a month or
Yeah,
so
that-
ago, I can send that out again.
That complete streets and highway, the funding from those came from the tax.
Unassigned
the Sales
Yes.
tax.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
That's where that came from.
okay,
I
Not from
misspoke.
ARPA.
Yeah,
yep.
correct.
So the
So
ARPA,
John, my
right now, we've
explanation
got,
to you was incorrect, but correct.
so now we've currently still got 750 devoted towards County Road 28 sewer, if that goes forward. We have, what was it, 250 to Ononda Uplands, I think?
Yeah, so we actually have a capital project, what is that, H33?
Yeah.
Is the ARPA capital project.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets very confusing too, right? So even with County Road 28, so Justin and I were talking about this, so you're gonna have expenses for that project that are gonna run through that capital project, but then it also has to run through the ARPA capital project, right? So it's almost like a transfer of money from the ARPA capital project over to the other capital project.
And it has to be spent, we can't put it in a
has to be
capital
spent.
project, we have to
Correct. No,
spend
it has to
it.
be spent, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be that paper trail.
So,
But they're linked, right? And then, so it was $1.1 million in total. So if you're saying 750, and we have had some engineering costs and everything else hit that capital project, but it was 750 for sewer, you've got about 400,000, right? And I think we said, whatever the number was.
Two and change, we
yeah.
said to Ononda.
Right.
The other part was going somewhere else, though, I thought we already spent it.
Well, some of it was like engineering related stuff, even for County Road 28 sewer and all that kind of stuff. So there's been some expense already against it.
so the way I set up the ARPA capital project that there's actually like sub-accounts.
Yep.
So that way, the capital project for ARPA is 33, but in each expense line, you're gonna have, there is a portion of the account code that will be like a 5, a 10, and a 15 to differentiate which, so you have engineering for Ononda, engineering for Seneca Point Road, and engineering for County Road 28. So they'll be all lumped together, but not.
Mhm. Okay.
So
So
we'll be
it'll
able to
show
differentiate the
where we
expenses for
spent it,
each
yeah.
ones, yeah. Mhm.
So are we transferring that, when we're spending those
It's
things?
not, that was my mistake.
Okay.
Engineering for the North Road, we, like you just described,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
actually from the unassigned fund balance that
Okay.
we appropriated last year. That was my mistake.
So when we're spending from the ARPA capital project, what are we putting it into? So let's say it's an Ononda Upland, where are we putting that? Like, is it moving into that capital project first, or is it going directly into what line, a rec line, or what? What are
No,
we-
it would be in the capital
In the-
project. It
right,
would actually
in
be
the-
funded from the capital project,
Okay,
with the
from
exception of
the
the County
ARPA
Road
capital
20.
project.
Yeah,
Okay,
the only
so
exception
it doesn't have to
that-
transfer somewhere else, it can come direct from that one.
The
Okay.
County Road 28 thing, I think that's where it's gonna get confusing.
Yeah.
If that moves forward, because that's a separate capital.
That's
project,
where
right?
that's
Yeah.
where I'm wondering what we do there, so.
So why is that a separate capital project, County Road 28?
Because that's a multi-year project, that'll have to be its own separate, because they'll be funding everything else, and it'll have to show every revenue and expense, right? So you'll actually account for that $4 or $5 million project, whatever it ends up being by the time it's done.
Is it gonna
Okay.
be a capital project or a special district? County Road
It would have to be a
28?
capital project first, and
Okay.
then create a special
So
district.
you're saying that funding for that is not just coming from ARPA? it's
Correct,
going to come from other sources as
Correct.
well?
yes.
Okay, that's,
Yeah.
all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, we don't have enough ARPA money to do
Yeah.
that.
All right, I gotcha.
Do all the special districts have to start as a capital project first and
Yes.
then transfer into,
Yeah.
into special districts? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
And then that way you have a accurate accounting of the cost that get levied against that district,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
And then make the general fund whole, essentially.
Mhm,
Because you actually even have to kind of upfront money from the general fund for engineering, like for instance, what we're doing with County Road 28 and stuff.
okay. Making sure I understood that process there, so, okay. So, but when we have something like, you know, I know the Ononda project's coming out of it, we
Right.
can pay that directly out of there.
Correct,
Because that's not a special district.
right, exactly.
Or a capital project.
Right.
Okay, although we
Yeah.
are planning to do a capital project.
Because it's so big, right?
Yes, so
Exactly.
let's do that before you go, Doug, okay? We'll make all the perfect little capital projects
Yeah.
pockets before you go.
The
So-
capital projects, I feel like do need some work, and even like really looking at the budget, make sure everybody's on the same page with them, because there's so many moving pieces and parts.
Mhm,
Is there any issue if this petition isn't successful, if it doesn't go forward? We have spent money, our money on this,
Mhm.
then taking that money and using it for some other approved use.
Mhm.
I mean, that's legal, I mean, that's okay.
As long as the town board finds that it's okay, yeah, because that's the fine print in the bottom of the ARPA thing that ultimately the town board gets to make. So you'll want a resolution spelling that out and approving that and saying that you agree and that this is an appropriate use of it, because ultimately the town board is the decision maker on that.
Okay.
So I think what I just heard, you correct me if I'm wrong. If County Road 28 does not move forward, the monies we have spent already out of the ARPA fund is within our purview?
Yes, I believe that to be correct. Because you were exploring it.
Yes.
That was an approved use of the
Mhm.
money, so
Right.
it just didn't move forward.
We were
Correct.
trying to spend it.
Right.
We tried really hard, is what,
How much have we spent? Do you know that number offhand?
like 100, 200, something.
On County Road 28.
Mhm.
Or
Oh,
actually
do you mean for all of
28
ARPA or
Grandview
just
and
28?
Cheshire.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that.
We've done
Yeah, because we did all three.
We've done all three, so
Grand
you
Prix.
might want to probably know that number. All
Right,
three
put
projects.
them all together, right?
Yeah,
Well,
That
how
way
much
you-
is out of ARPA altogether?
because
at this point?
that would
These are
give
the
you
only places
what's
we
left
spent
of
it, right?
ARPA, just what you spent on
Right.
28.
So, yeah.
'Cause
That
we've
would give
done
us, right, the grand total of what's
grand
left,
total
the
of what's
balance.
left. Yep, I think that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, and then
It was 1.1 exactly?
Yeah, it was 1.1 and change, but yeah.
And when we spent the money, it was anticipated that we would get this money out of the ARPA funds.
Yeah, there's resolutions.
Yeah,
that-
so,
We already
yeah,
did.
so it's
spend it
not-
out of the
Okay,
ARPA fund.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bonus that we'll get and you be able to use to something else, it's money
No.
already spent, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that, you're right, Jim, I think that we need to know what all three of those were, so we know what the balance is.
Well, that's what the balance of the ARPA fund is, that we already know, so
Well, yeah,
What is it?
because,
that's what she's looking at right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we need to understand what that is.
because I think the numbers that MRB, Greg ran, tell the residents what their annual cost would be, use 750,
Yes, he did.
but there isn't necessarily 750.
No, there would be, because, no, there is. Because the town board designated 750 specifically for County Road 28, right? So that's why we have these off numbers, and that's where I think it would be good to spend a second on it, but, you know, when we can pull up a report and send it out to everybody exactly where it's at.
Mhm.
Because you have, if it's 750 for County Road 28 and it's 2 or 250 for
The others?
You still have 1.16, or, yeah, it was 1.16 or something or other. So you still have 160,000 in engineering that went towards the other stuff. You'll be okay.
I think it would be great if we could have a summary of all that.
Yeah.
So what specifically,
So what's the balance right now? in
He
that
wants to know the
ARPA?
balance of the ARPA fund, basically.
what is the balance of the ARPA?
The
funds?
capital project, H33, what's the current
Of H
budget?
33, yeah.
The current budget
Yes,
is 1
the remaining balance, I guess, let me ask it a different way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that'll tell us what we spent on engineering, because I don't think we spent it on his engineering at this point.
Well, it just, the projects get a
I
little.
think rather than
more
just throw it out,
That's-
Doug, I think you're better off
Yeah.
creating a summary.
Yeah, exactly.
And then identify whether
Report.
Cheshire was included in that number or not, right? And what other project did you mention?
Grandview.
Yeah.
Grandview Park, Cheshire,
Yeah.
and now 28.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I had a 35-minute when we were done talking, but we kept talking. So, are we good to go now then? Everybody happy?
Yep.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.